Welcome to Cannabis Health News Magazine. We're here today live with Kalyn from the Wheelchair Sports Camp. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. It's really great to have you by here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's funny. I met you down at Occupy Denver, and I had no idea who you were. And as I've, as I get around this community, I start to meet more and more people, and I start to realize how much power each and every one of us has. And your skills are phenomenal. I was just chatting with you a little bit about your music, and what you were just listening to was from one of your albums that you've put together. And you do most of the work yourself, apparently.
I do. I make all the beats and write all the raps.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how Wheelchair Sports Camp came about. Because honestly, as I listen to, and I don't listen to a lot of rap, but honestly, as I listen to your music, your lyrics start to hit home. You talk about a wide range of things, and I think that to me, meeting you at Occupy, it really makes sense. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'd love to talk about Occupy Denver.
So Wheelchair Sports Camp is a real thing, not just a band. And
it's a real camp, too.
Yeah, there's a real Wheelchair Sports Camp here outside of Denver, and they busing kids from all over the city in for free. It's completely nonprofit. The ladies doing it have been funneling pocket money every year. And so I got involved in that when I was a kid, when I first moved back from Burbank to Colorado. And so I started going every year, and I was really just this troublemaker who didn't really care about sports or sports camp. But yeah, I continued to go every year. Not like I was forced to, but it was just this yearly tradition, and I would always bring most of my able-bodied friends who would, pretend like they would volunteer, and again, we'd just get in trouble. And so when I was able to drive, I stopped being a camper, and I would just help out and be a volunteer, and I still go every year. And so that's where the name came from. A friend of mine who went to middle school with me, and I started the band in 2007.
So how do people learn more about the camp, the Wheelchair Sports Camp, and get involved in that?
Well, I can check on my phone right now for an email, but if you just Google Colorado Junior Wheelchair Sports Camp, should be able to find out how to apply. It's happening June, I want to say 10th through the 15th this year.
All right. We'll try and get that date out to you guys and put that up on the website for those of you who are interested. And, Kalyn, you mentioned something that's really important, I think, to all of us, is that these organizations, these efforts and groups across the board come from people who really believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And you said it was out of pocket, essentially.
Yeah.
So do you have...
These are all like... I don't even know the word for it. They're like PE teachers for disabled kids. There's probably a title for them, but special needs PE teachers. And they're all retired, and they're all old and have been doing it every year, and it's this amazing thing. It really is.
Is there a way people can donate to the program?
Yeah, people can donate. I mean, any camper could go pretty much with a disability within the age of like 5 to 18. Anybody can volunteer. You can get credit for it. You could... get community service written off for it. I mean, it really is a great thing.
So it really does tie into the community in many ways.
It does.
And is it for both physical and mental disabilities?
It's more physical, but I mean, like, there's definitely a range. There's plenty of mixed, and
it kind of reminds me of the ski program I used to volunteer for up at Eldora, the Eldora Special Recreation Program. We talked a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I used to do it at Winter Park through my hospital. So, I was one of those kids who really didn't take advantage of those programs, and wanted to go like listen to rap music instead, but it's still something that I think is so great. So the band is kind of also supposed to be sarcastic because I'm that kind of person. So
So you did bring this up a couple times. You've gotten into quite a bit of trouble. You're a troublemaker. And
Troublemaker.
honestly, I have a lot of respect for you and for people like yourself,
Thank
because
you.
we really do need the troublemakers. Those of us who follow lockstep and follow orders all the time, it doesn't fit all of us. We are not necessarily the quote unquote norm that you expect. So tell us a little bit about some of the trouble you've gotten into before you started the band, the rap
Before
group.
I
Excuse me.
started the band, I don't know. I'm kind of a fake troublemaker, Like hip hop is my trouble, So I would listen to gangster music even though I really had no ability to be a gangster. It was just, and so because
It touched your heart somehow.
yeah,
though.
I've never
Yeah.
been arrested because I'm disabled, and like I've kind of milked it, And
I wish I could.
continue
I
to
wish that
milk
was a
it.
perfect excuse to say, yeah, we can't get arrested because we're disabled.
And the cockier I get, the closer I am to getting arrested soon. But I've been
You hear that,
really,
folks? She's asking for that.
I'm really lucky, and I've had a few run-ins a few times, and I always get out of it somehow.
I've heard some of those stories, and I think that ties back into Occupy Denver as well. And we've all seen what's gone on down there. I was present during that big onslaught that they had, that the officers came down on us with pepper spray and shot the
was
reporter
also
out of the
there.
tree. Yep, I remember seeing you that day.
Yeah.
I think I was after the march, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's like I'm one of those persons who has to kind of sit on the sideline and make sure that I'm out of the way. I mean, I was still coughing and getting tear gas,
You
but
still
then
inhale some
again,
of it.
like the rebel in me are those people in the trees throwing shit at the cops.
And your
that's-
words. You performed also at Occupy. I remember catching you down there and hearing one of your raps. Do you mind talking a bit about the music that you've created and why it's important to you?
Um, I started kind of getting into like I don't even want to say politics, but yeah, I guess politics when I was like 16, and so ever since then, I've just really been interested in things that I didn't think were really being talked about. I remember reading my first Michael Moore book, and I thought I was like the first person to ever know about this, because none of my friends knew about it, and so I just got really passionate, and I was more passionate about hip hop before that, but it was like now I kind of had more of a purpose, I wasn't just rapping to be a stupid rapper. I guess I had something to rap about that I cared about.
You had a message to carry with,
yeah.
with your creative art form, yeah.
And I don't want to try and like fall back on that. I don't want to only be, harping politics down everybody's throat. So I try and put it aside for a few songs and just have fun. That's also my main purpose, it's just like trying to laugh and enjoy yourself.
Enjoy the community and
Exactly.
friends and family and all of us around each
Yeah,
other.
and being happy about, being yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of us in the community talk about, and I think that's why the cannabis community has come together. Is we feel that we can be ourselves. A lot of us don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
We don't like to follow rules of authority that don't make sense.
Exactly. And, there's plenty of rules of authority that I think we all need to come together and talk about to change, so.
That's a big one, Kalyn. Thank you very much for bringing that up. We, as a community, all of us need to come together, whether it's, the crazies on the street corner, the medical doctor that has a great business in a hospital, the attorneys, the street sweepers, the guy that serves you coffee in the morning.
Right.
We all need to come together, get off our couches, stop watching TV, and have a conversation.
And it affects everyone, whether you're complacent and in your house the whole time. I mean, your kid's brother who does get out, is affected by this every day, and so it's kind of everybody's responsibility, I think, to stick up for each other.
Yeah, that's a big one. This country takes all of us to participate in it.
Yeah.
So one thing that you have brought to the table is this creative art form, where you are able to carry these messages, or any message you wish, really, into the public realm, the listeners, the fans that you have. And you're able to encourage people through your creative art form, your music. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the performances you've done and who comes to your shows and the support that you get? But real quick, what I'd like to do is see if we could take a little break for our sponsors and hear what they have to say. So come on back to Cannabis Health News Magazine and listen to a little bit more about Wheelchair Sports Camp, the music side. Thanks, Kalyn.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my dad. Hi, Dad, who always set a good example on the road. And, of course, I thank Nationwide for this generous reward. The road to becoming a safe driver can be lonely, following the speed limit or checking my blind spot. Not glamorous. Even my insurance company basically ignored my achievement. But all that changed the instant I switched to Nationwide. My safe driving was immediately rewarded with a bonus, saving me hundreds of dollars off my premiums, and over the years, I earned accident forgiveness. Nationwide likes me. They really like me.
Switch to Nationwide and start earning the driver's seat rewards you deserve immediately. Simply call 1-877 on your side or visit nationwide.com and start earning your rewards right now. Life comes at you fast, so it's always good to know.
Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliated companies. Home office, Columbus, Ohio. Subject to underwriting guidelines, review and approval. Driver's seat rewards available only in South Carolina.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it on grass. Runongrass.com.
The law offices of Edson, Maton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Learn the way to make a move until the kick snare set in. Stop letting people drag me
Welcome back to Cannabis Health News Magazine. We're here in the studio with Kalyn from Wheelchair Sports Camp. Again, thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. I would like to actually ask that question again. I know that as we went into sponsors, I started to ask you about the audience that you have, the kind of supporters, the listening audience. And I asked because I'm kind of curious about, everybody who performs music. I don't go to music events anymore. I was a big dancer and worked at MTV back in the day, if you will, like 20 years ago. Did a bunch of music videos, but I haven't been out having a good time. So tell us a little bit about more about your music, and I can't wait to hear. We are going to be really lucky here, folks, to hear a spoken word rap in studio in just a few minutes. But before we get there, could you tell us a little bit about who comes to the events and your sponsorship, your support, and I really want to get into the music itself.
Cool. Well, it's a bummer you don't go out because we play all the time.
I see that. No, I'm definitely aware of that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I caught you at Denver once, so I did. I see you live, or Occupy, so I saw you live.
Okay, yeah. So we, it always depends. Like, really, we have quite a bit of range, which is kind of nice for us. So, you really never know what you're going to get at a show. And I actually think that's part of just the game, It's like we just went back to South by our second trip and had a great time, but definitely didn't get any of the shows we expected. Not that that was a bad thing, but it's just like you really just don't know. We've been in those cities for few times, and you think you have an idea of what the night's going to be like, and you really just never know until it happens. But
that's so true, and that I've realized that myself in organizing events. You really never know.
Yeah. So I mean, we can play events, like all ages events. I got plenty of little cousins and stuff that like to come and see us, and we could play for older age people. We just played with Salt and Pepper, and that was
nice.
Definitely an older crowd.
That's too funny. That as I mentioned earlier, I worked on some videos. One of them was Twist and Shout.
Nice.
Back in the day with Salt and Pepper.
Nice.
I'm up in the front throwing a young lady up in the air, if I recall. How'd that turn out? Do you have that? Do you have that recorded at all?
I don't know. I'm sure there was something being recorded out there, but I didn't go and look. It was awesome, Like, I got my first Salt and Pepper CD when I was 6 years old, and it was their second to last CD. So I was still late, and I was so young. So it was incredible for me to not just see them, because really I was just trying to get on the guest list so that I wouldn't miss it. Obviously, I'd like to get Wheelchair Sports Camp in on it, but it was like a few days before the show. There's usually just, getting big shows booked is never easy.
Right. That's a great experience. And so is Salt and Pepper one of the influences that...
Oh, yeah. Huge. Very necessary. It's such a pivotal CD in my childhood.
That is awesome. Who else would you reach out to for influences?
TLC was also even just a little bit before Salt and Pepper. I was just obsessed with hip hop, really, and if it wasn't hip hop, I didn't want to hear it. It was like, it didn't matter that I liked my parents' music. I didn't like it because I was hip hop, and finally outside of high school, even a little bit in high school, I started getting over myself and really digging into music all around, because I missed out on so much because I was just so obsessed with mainstream hip hop, and that's really all I could get my hands on. And so it took me a few years to really just be a music geek, and
so now you're diving into everything.
Yeah, and like the more I'm sampling, which I've been doing a lot to make beats, the more I get records for no good reason. I think that I could find a good sample on any record. It's like you could flip it, reverse it, make anything sound like something.
You find value in somebody else's artwork and creativity.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
find that you can use it in your stuff. That's
and that's
cool.
not how I started
That's
making
really cool.
beats. I started trying to do it all myself. And I can do that. I just like the art of sampling right now a lot more. So
That's, to me, that's respect in big ways. As an artist myself, I look back to all of the people that I've been influenced by, whether it's in painting, sculpture, what have you. And something that bothers me in saying that is nowadays we live in this commercial climate where everything's copyrighted and you can't use this, that, and the other thing. Honestly, I think, copying somebody's work, if you will, is probably the best form of flattery. And it's the only way that I believe we can move forward with additional creativity. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that you do that and adapt that into your work.
that's actually a really, I think I was on this conversation maybe like yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning. I'm such a big supporter of the public domain. I actually written a song just about how when you create your piece of work and you put it out into the public, it's no longer yours. It's just or you can't maintain a free culture. You're then capitalizing on culture. And that's hard because, eventually I'd like to make money doing what I do. And so it's very contradicting. But, like, when it comes down to it, I mean, I don't ever see myself suing somebody for, using my work. But then again, like, I also don't clear any of my samples, and I'm using some big samples, So it's like I'm from that generation where things are free and you get what you want.
But that technically that is legal. Apparently, we can use 30 seconds, if I remember right, of samples, right?
Yeah, but I mean it gets tricky. Like really, if they want to sue you, they can.
And this is something that really comes back to a bigger conversation, of course, is the way we look at things with capitalism and corporate entities, if you will, law and so on and so forth. It is hard to think about how do we make money by putting our work out there.
Yeah.
But that said, I think that there are ways, there are creative ways that we can make things like this happen, and that comes back to the community picture. I think if we all come together and start having these conversations, I bet we can find a solution. And that said, nice intro. I love
Sorry
it.
about
Oh,
that.
no worries. I think that if we look at, say, for example, all the people in jail, all the people that are not being educated or don't have the opportunities to access education, or they don't have shelter, they don't have food, this is where, if we start to come together, we can address all of these things. And I think that there are answers out there, whether it's about creative artwork or creative feeding or creative shelter, whatever it might be.
And trading and going back, creating your own currency. I mean, it's all doable, and I'm just so inspired by the music industry model, which kind of is ahead of Occupy Wall Street, and kind of flipped all these corporate record labels on their ass, I mean, they don't have half the power that they used to. They don't have half the leverage.
So what do you feel about things like
And that's the
BitTorrent?
internet too, so that's all my generation that I'm so excited about.
That's a big one. So what we're addressing really is seeing the shift of control from the music industry to the artist.
Yeah.
And that's, I mentioned BitTorrent. There's all these file sharing sites out there that have been so controversial for a while, but it looks like this may be a huge opportunity. And again, another way to look at how to make money. And to me, as I look at the bigger picture, what I'm interested in is seeing more participation in our community. Not necessarily, do I have to spend money on buying a CD or download, but I can spend that money by going to a venue or engaging in some event that has 4 or 5 or 6 bands, performing. And so, those of you out there, and I've actually had this conversation with groups like Burnt Lips, who are working with us in the industry, are moving in the same direction. They're a rock and reggae band. It's been around for a while. I think they have an MTV video from, I want to say 80, no, it wasn't 80. When did MTV start? 86?
I think so.
So
Maybe
somewhere
7.
in there. But it's cool to see that what we are creating is really a place where community action can take place. And that's something we're seeing in Occupy Denver. We're seeing it in the cannabis movement in Colorado. The cannabis movement itself is starting to engage, or has been engaging, with community activities, trash pickup, teach-ins, whatever it might be. And so tell us, a little bit, and I know this is going to be a touchy subject for some, but I think it's really important to have this dialogue. And you actually have a spoken word piece or a rap that you're going to share with us as well, And it addresses some touchy issues, but being somebody who has faced my own jury trial and was facing 8 years in prison, and realizing that we have 2 million people in jail, in prison in this country. We have the highest per capita prison population in the world. And these people are in jail for nonviolent crimes, crimes that didn't involve another party. And honestly, I don't see if there's no harm done, how can someone serve time? So if you wouldn't mind, Kalyn.
No.
Do you mind sharing, maybe doing a little intro into the song for us?
Yeah. So I wrote this tune right after Troy Davis had died, and that was a really hard issue for me.
Tell us a little bit about Troy. Troy was beaten.
Troy was he was executed with the support of millions of worldwide people.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, President Carter, the Pope. I mean, big names were getting behind his effort to keep him from being executed because the evidence was just so, it wasn't credible at all. It was all testimony, and it was for the murder of a cop, a white cop, and he was a very big activist for people in his situation, and so he was a loud voice, and they executed him, and Obama didn't say anything, didn't make any public statement about it. It was the #1 story on the New York Times and Google, and it was just how is this, and then I started really diving into the subject and getting into all those things that you're talking about. So this is actually the first song that we wrote. I wrote for our new EP that's coming out, and it's called Just Isn't Right, and usually it has a beat on it, but it is kind of spoken wordy, and so it's the sun doesn't shine on any death row, where skeletons bay, far from an elegant stay, heavier than elephants. Pray that the courts don't read short of the facts, 'cause it's been hell ever since they are the victim of this culture of violence, not a solution, institution, but tyrants. Sirens escort minorities through the cities. Red lights, red rights, police do the most gritty work for the business, this billion-dollar business. Higher crime rates and higher sentence. This is a quarter of the entire world's incarcerated land of the free. Only 5% of that is populated by us. If in God we trust, then God we must stop. Reverse, wage a war on drug busts. Crimes pay the bills. Luck's always been tough. But when will enough be enough? Independent contractors conjectured to the private sector, Wall Street investors, annual trade exhibitions, corrections, corporation, conventions, corruption, construction, prepaid phone discussion, food supplied not for human discussion, corruption, magazine, generous, plentiful profits, healthcare to death share markets. Pocket for profit. Correct healthcare is given all the way to the death chair. Inmates work for Target, Microsoft, Motorola, AT&T, IBM, even Boeing's largest, and Macy's. Benefits regardless. Dell, Revlon, Hewlett-Packard for maybe a quarter an hour. Bravery staggered. Women are sexually battered making military helmets, along with bulletproof vests, tags, pants, belts, tents, even ammunition. Some are doing life for this socially constructed condition. 13th Amendment abolished slavery, but on the outside of the prisons. Not far from concentration camps and Nazi visions. Headphones to cell phones, microphones, appliances, speakers, medical supplies that aren't supplied to them. A colorless world that demands license plates and paint. Just isn't right. Justice it ain't. They round up masses of natives, Latins, and black men, transfer public funds to private companies where house them, oppress before ever even being in prison, starve themselves to death before anyone would listen. Listen, you go to jail longer for rock cocaine than powder. Life's a ball game, 3 strikes and you're a goner. Taking every last honor to give white privileged power. The first black president to silence his phone this hour. 11:08. Time to occupy the nation. We won't fuel this economy with alleged crime reservations, each day an echo of the 4th day that just passed. You, we, I am Troy Davis. Now let me be the last. And that's it.
Wow. That gives me... it's weird. Some of the things you said, a lot of what you said, are things that we all in this community have been talking about. I've been talking about with friends. This is a very powerful reality, I'll say, you just put out there, all in one, and I know you said it was going to be long, but in a short statement.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
The recorded version is actually 3 times as long because I end up just like going on with 3 minutes of listing names of people who have been executed, who are still in prison. I mean, just the list goes on.
And one of those
disabled people. Charles Alexander.
One of those people is Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Mumia Abu-Jamal, absolutely. Yeah. And now, this Trayvon Martin thing does strike a interesting point that's not necessarily have to do with the prison system, unfortunately, yet. But it does have to do with our system, our corruption, the police force who, work with these prison people as well. They're all hand in hand, and it's kind of a scary day. So
it really is a scary day because we have a economy right now that is based on imprisoning people, executing people, going to war, poisoning food, poisoning the water. It's amazing how far things have gone. Sometimes I catch myself asking, am I in bizarro world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can we be part of it without being enraged by it and always having to bring it up or always having to rap about it, It's
and Kalyn, you really, and that's why I really have such high respect for you and what you're doing, because you are standing up and facing the reality, not only as an individual, but with also trying to educate people with your music and your spoken word, your raps.
But even better, I'm sitting down doing it.
Yeah, isn't that wild? You don't have to stand out in the street corner all the time and shout.
I'm sitting down to stand up. But, it's really empowering for me to have, this internet platform that I was able to release my music on and, find a way of expressing myself. And, I had been rapping on tapes as a kid, so it wasn't really new to me. But, having a message and a purpose made everything a little bit, more worth my while. It's like I wanted to get it out.
And knowing who you are.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Do you mind sharing? Was that like a sort of a realization for you? Do you mind sharing that at all? I know for myself, really standing up for who I was, I think came about from my trial. It taught me a lot. Did you have one of those profound occurrences, or was it something you always carried with you?
Well, I think it was kind of like a progression, and I don't know a very exact moment, but, there was this definitely change of time where I was so much more comfortable with myself, and I was able to joke and laugh and have a good time and, put down the self-conscious, and that changed my everything, and I think hip-hop actually kind of probably gave that to me on a cheesy cliche basis. That's kind of my hip-hop love story that everybody involved has, and when you yourself are this good person, whether it be confident or happy or funny, you can, share that energy with the people around you by just being yourself, and that is been a really incredible experience for me. So.
And sharing that love, you have a partner that you get to share your personal life with. That's a wonderful thing.
I do. I've been with a girl for 6 years now.
That's awesome.
6
years.
We both are learning a lot, and are feeling the same way about just being the best people we can, being able to make each other happy and everybody else around us happy. It's that's, I think, the subconscious fundamental way to change the world, and it's a lot easier than getting involved in activism even it's like just being happy.
Be happy with yourself and what you have around you. Be thankful for it. Yeah.
There's never been like a killer who's happy with himself, or herself. So
that's a really profound, but it's simple statement. It really starts with us. So a couple other things I want to dive into, and I want to come back to Occupy, because a lot of what you brought up in your spoken word is something that comes out in Occupy. So we see that educational issues, prison issues. You brought up the 13th Amendment, which I thought was fascinating. Very few people really understand that slavery was only abolished outside the prisons, and that slavery is allowed once you are incarcerated as an individual, and all of a sudden your rights disappear. So how did you first hear about Occupy, and what drew you down to Occupy Denver?
Well, I had heard about Occupy Wall Street, and so I was already kind of inspired by that. And then I read somewhere online that Denver was one of the first cities to kind of branch out, and so I went straight to the Capitol and hung out, and I started going. I think it was day 5 of the occupation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of am so intrigued by watching it grow, and it's such a crazy thing. I've been to now I've been able to go to Occupy Wall Street. I've been to Occupy LA, and I did a little bit with Occupy Austin at South by Southwest. So
nice. It's
just so crazy to bring Denver with me to all these other places, and vice versa. And they all have just so many different dynamics. It's just so crazy. And
even just going down to Colorado Springs Occupy, it was so much different than what we had here in Denver.
Yeah, I bet. It's just everybody works differently, but it's such a inspiring moment, I think, and it has its huge criticisms right now, and I think that it's sometimes feel like it's standing on a shaky peg leg or something, but when all actuality, I think it's just empowering enough that we have people coming together, and despite all the criticism, if people showed up with that criticism and worked on changing it, I think we can all do it, and we all have so many things to fight for that we can all lend our voice to so many other things. That's why Occupy is such a big umbrella. It's not just capitalism, or it's not even just banks. It's gay rights. It's prison rights. It's Trayvon Martin. Yeah. It's just on and on and on. And now, and it's the environment. And now, so we have this big pool of support that we can call for any action we need, and that's what we've needed for a while, and it's over 6 months old. I mean, how long has it been since a protest has been outside for 6 months plus?
The other thing is it appears that the states have tried to push back on us pretty hard.
Especially Denver.
Denver just put a fence around the park, around Civic Center Park. However, what I find fascinating is that now that people have come together over the last 6 months, there's a lot more activity happening on individual levels in small groups in people's homes and offices across, or coffee shops around the city and around the country. So it's actually growing, but we're not seeing the presence out in the street right now. And I know it'll come back. Yesterday there was a huge turnout for a Capitol event as well.
And that's what I love about Occupy Denver specifically, is that, definitely we don't have a big 24/7 camp, but we have a steady 24/7 camp of homeless people every night. And that is so inspiring to me that they are now in the public and have been for 6 months.
Yeah, that's a really important issue because Denver and Colorado and many cities across the country have pushed the homeless under the bridges and into the tunnels, if you will. And I am actually very pleased to see that they are front and center in getting involved in this because they are part of our community.
Exactly. And
I've been there.
And there's so many other cities that I've been to where you don't get to see Broadway with a line of homeless people, you know. So that's actually one of my favorite Occupy Denver models specifically.
Thank you, Kalyn. Thank you very much for coming into the studio. And I don't want to cut you off here. I think what we just did is open the doors to more conversations.
Yeah.
We just hit on some very important topics here that are going to be something that we should all stay focused on. Pay attention to the Occupy movement and community engagement. If you want to do something out there, reach out. If you want to get involved in the Wheelchair Sports Camp, reach out. Do a Google search. I actually did that earlier. It's real easy to find. It's easy to get in touch with you and find your contact.
Yep. And I can put anybody in contact to the Real Wheelchair Sports Camp that'll be happening. I think it's June 10th to the 15th. So, yeah, get involved.
Definitely get involved. And if you want to know more about the event in June, please reach out to iCannabis Radio, Cannabis Health News Magazine, Wheelchair Sports Camp, and somehow we'll put you in touch.
Yes.
So again, thank you very much for listening to Cannabis Health News Magazine, and come on back and see what we have for the rest of the next half hour.
Help defend women's rights in the pursuit of equality. Join Americans all across the United States on April 28, 2012, as we come together as one to tell members of Congress in Washington, D.C., and legislatures in all 50 states enough is enough. All Americans have the right to make a decision about their own bodies, including contraception, without interference from government, business, or religious institutions. Join us at Civic Center Park, April 28 at 10 a.m. www.unitedwomen.net.
The law offices of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
Sarah's Medicated Teas. With over 50,000 tea bags sold, Sarah's Medicated Teas have quickly become the most popular and most effective way to medicate without smoking. Our tea bags are made with loose leaf tea and fine hash keef. We separate into sativa, indica, hybrid, and kush medicine bases in 1/3 and 1 full gram strength. Our keef infusion process has a consistent measured dose in each bag. Sarah's Medicated Teas come in 20 flavors. Enjoy them hot or over ice. Sarah's Medicated Teas can be found in 80 MMJ centers across the state of Colorado. Sarah's Medicated Teas. When you need to medicate, it's tea time.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California